Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are discussing OOPS concepts of Java. Before moving ahead, if you are new to this channel, please like, share and subscribe this channel to get more videos on this topic. Now we will start with object-oriented programming concepts. Like C++, Java also provides the concept of object-oriented programming. Object-oriented is nothing but classes and objects are included in a program that we are discussing detail. So OOPS concepts includes classes, object, and because of use of classes and object, this Java provides encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstraction. We are discussing each one by one. First of all, we start with the concept of object. Object is an instance of a class. You can see here, suppose this is a class, then we can say an object is an instance of a class. Suppose we have one box and this box is filled with number of chocolates. In that case, this box we can call it as a class, and these chocolates are nothing but objects or instances of this class. That is, every chocolate will exhibit the properties of this block. So this is a simple idea behind classes and object. We can say that object is an instance of a class. Now we discuss one simple example. Suppose we have a house, and suppose our object is house, which states that is the house will have address and area, and there are various functions to a house, that is, say, open door, close door. These are the functions which are provided by the house. So we can say that house is a class, and this address and area will be the data members of this class, and open door, close door, these are the member functions of this class. So this is a basic idea behind the classes and object. Here you can see class, how class is defined. Class, that is class name, then opening bracket. Here list of data members, you can see these are the data members. Okay, so these are the data members, and this open door and close door, these are the member functions. And you can see here the class, every member function will be every member function will have opening and closing braces, and in that you have to write whatever statements you have to include. You can see here, and you have to close the class after defining the member functions. Now we will see what is definition of classes and object. Class is a template for an object, and object is an instance of a class. Okay, one more example we can see here. For example, suppose car is a class, then say model of car, color of car, brand of car, all these will act as a data members of this car class, and the speed, size, this will be act as a member functions of this class. Now we discuss syntax of class declaration. The syntax is, you have to write the keyword class, then you have to write the class name, then you have to write data type of a variable and variable name. After that again data type, variable name. So you can include any number of variables. After that, type, method name. So this is again a return type of a method, and this is name of method. This is a body of method which is to be enclosed in curly opening and closing braces, and you can include many number of methods in a class, and this is a closing bracket of the class. So this is how a class is defined. Again, this is declaration of objects. So syntax for object declaration is class name, object name equal to new class name, opening closing bracket and semicolon. And this new operator is used to dynamically allocate memory to the object. This is about the concept of classes and object. Out of several concepts of OOPS, we discuss what is class, what is object, and how to declare class and object. Now we will discuss the concept of encapsulation. Encapsulation means binding data members and member functions together. So here you can see this car class is having some data members, model, color, brand, and member functions, size and speed. What does it mean? We can see here this data members and member functions are encapsulated or enclosed in a car class. This is like a encapsulation. This is a class, and class is having say data members and member function. This is the concept behind encapsulation. Next concept is abstraction. Abstraction is a process where you show only relevant data and hide unnecessary details of object from the user. So whatever activities you have to do, you can do it by declaring the object and calling the methods with the help of that object. Because of that, you can say the abstraction is achieved. You can hide the unnecessary data and you can show the relevant data only with the help of this classes and object concept. Next concept is polymorphism. Poly means many, and the ability of a message to be displayed in many forms or more than one form is called as polymorphism. It is of two types, compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. Now we start with compile time polymorphism. Compile time polymorphism is also known as static polymorphism and is achieved by function overloading or method overloading. In Java, we call function as a method. In C++, we call those functions which are called as methods in Java now. We discuss it with the help of simple example. Suppose this is a class name multiply function. Okay, so multiply fun. Then static integer multiply int a comma int b, return a into b. These are the static variables. Then again static double multiply, then you can see the parameters double a double b, and then return a comma a multiply by b. Then this is a main class. M main is the name of the class. Then this is a main method, public static void main string arguments, and here we are displaying this multiply function dot multiply 2 comma 4, and here we are calling this we are displaying multiply function dot multiply 5.5 comma 6.3. So as we discussed earlier, this multiply is the function, and you can see the name of function is same, but the difference is in the return type. This first multiply function is having return type integer, and second function is having this return type double. And you can see here the function, which function is to be called will be decided by the parameters. Here this statement will give call to this function, that is multiply function. This calculate multiplication and the return value will be displayed here. And for this next statement, multiply function dot multiply, and these parameters are of double type, so it will give call to this function of type double. That's why it is called as polymorphism, and the value of multiplication will be written here. You can see the output. At first you will get the output 8, that is multiplication of 2 and 4, and at second you will get the output 34.65, that is multiplication of 5.5 and 6.3. So this is called as compile time polymorphism. At the time of compilation, it will be decided which function is to be called based on the type of parameters. And this is also called as function overloading or method overloading, because the same method name is there, that is method name is same, but the return type is different here. That's why this is called as method overloading. Another way of method overloading is, instead of making difference in the data type or return type of the function, there can be difference in the number of parameters. So you can see here the first multiply function is having only two parameters, that is integer a and b. The second multiply function is having data type or return type integer, but the parameters are, there are three parameters, that is a, b and c, and it is returning the product of a, b, c. This multiply function is returning product of a and b only. And in main function you can see here this multiply function dot multiply 2 comma 4, that is only two parameters, and in second case there are three parameters, that is 2, 7, 4. So call to the function will be decided based on the number of parameters, and this is called as method overloading. And here the differences, the data type or return type and function name are same, but the difference is only in the parameters, and you will get this output. This is about compile time polymorphism. Now next we will discuss runtime polymorphism. So runtime polymorphism is achieved through inheritance in Java. There are various types of inheritances in Java. Inheritance is nothing but inheriting the properties of one class in the another class. You can see here class A and class B. Here class B is inheriting the properties of class A. This is similar to inheriting the properties of your parents to the child. The properties of parents, or we can say the features of parents, are inherited in their childs. In the similar way, the properties of one class will be there in the inherited class or in the another class. For example, here this is a single inheritance. Whatever properties class E is having, that will be inherited in class B. You can see here this is a multi-level inheritance where class B is inheriting properties of class A and class C is inheriting properties of class B. There is again another type of inheritance, that is multi-level inheritance, where this is a class A and class B and class C both are inheriting the properties of class A. This is an example of multi-level inheritance. Runtime polymorphism is also known as dynamic method dispatch, and it is a process in which a function called the overridden method is resolved at the runtime. We will discuss one example of method overriding, and this method overriding will be achieved through inheritance. So this is a class name is parent. This print method is displaying parent class. Now you can see here class subclass 1 extends parent, that is this subclass 1 is inherited from parent class, and the keyword extend is used for inheritance here. Here you can see the name of method is print, and this method is displaying the statement subclass 1. Now here again one more class is defined. The name of class is subclass 2. Class subclass 2 extends parent. Here also there is a display function, that is print function, which is displaying a statement subclass 2. You can see here it is an example of multiple inheritance. The parent class is a base class, and the two classes, that is parent class subclass 1 and subclass 2 are inherited from this parent class. This main class defines object of a parent class, and we are calling this object A equal to new subclass 1 and A dot print. Again A equal to new subclass 2, then A dot print. So can you guess the output? The output will be subclass 1 and subclass 2. Why this is so? Because print method is present in both the classes, that is base class as well as the parent classes, but because of the syntax, that is A equal to new subclass 1, it is displaying the print method from subclass 1 and displaying the output subclass 1. And here we have assigned A equal to new subclass 2 A dot print. Because of this, the display statement will display the subclass 2.
Now we discuss one example of compile time polymorphism that we theoretically already discussed. Here you can see class M is there, then multiply function with two parameters which are of integer type, and the return type is also integer. Then next multiply function with return type double and the two parameters of double type. You can see here in main function the call to multiply function will give call to this first multiply method because the parameters are of integer type, and this call to multiply function in second display function gives call to the second multiply function which are having double type of parameters. Now we will see the output here. I will compile the program with program name.java. The name of our program is P4 here, Java C P4.java. Java P4. So you can see the output 8 and 34.65. This is the next example where the difference is in the size of parameters. In the previous example, we saw that the data type of or return type of the method is different, but here you can see both the multiply method are having same return type, same name, but there is a difference in the parameters. So you can see here this first println statement will give call to this first method with two parameters, and this second multiply method will give call to this second method, and we will get the output as multiplication of this two number, that is 2 into 4 8, and at second time 2 into 7 into 3, that is 42. Now I will compile this program. So to compile this program I have to write javac p5.java, then java p5. To execute it you have to use java p5. So this is the output for this program. This is the last example of runtime polymorphism where we have to use inheritance. You can see here this is a parent class, and in parent class method p is there which is displaying parent class. Second, this is a subclass which is inherited from parent class and it is displaying the statement subclass 1. And at last this is the subclass 2 which is extended from parent class and displaying the statement subclass 2 class. And here this is a main class p6. Here we have created an object of parent class, and then we have assigned a equal to new subclass 1, and we have called this p method a.p, and then next we have assigned the same object with new operator and class 2, and then we call the method, that is a.p method. Let us see what output we are getting here. So I am compiling this program. To compile this program I have to use p6.java and then java p6, should be java p6. So you can see subclass 1 and subclass 2, this output we are getting. Why is it so? Because we have assigned this object A with the new class method, that is subclass 1 method. That's why the p method from subclass 1 will be called at first, and at second the p method from subclass 2 will be called. So this is about the various programs that we have covered in this video.
So these are few concepts of object-oriented programming. In this video, we discuss classes, object, encapsulation, abstraction, polymorphism, and inheritance. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel.